Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back in to Morons on a Mic. I'm your host, Cody McCauley. With me, as always, and hearing his lovely phone chimes all the time is Ted Kinney.
My
Uh,
computer.
he still hasn't silenced it somehow. All right.
I'm gonna be
So,
honest, I don't know how.
and that's why we're Morons on a Mic.
Yeah, putting that
um,
IT degree to good use.
welcome in. Today is Friday. Friday.
Whoop, whoop.
What are you looking forward to this weekend, Teddy?
Football. Oregon's got an off week, so it'll be a nice chill weekend for me. I won't have to be stressed out at all. Very nice.
You looking forward to that OU Tennessee game? You gonna watch
Oh
it?
yeah, I'll be there.
College game day down in Norman. Woo.
I'm gonna
I'll tell
stay
you what, I'm not
inside.
going down to Norman this
Yep, I
weekend.
was about to say I'm not going anywhere near 35 like this. That's that traffic's gonna be
I
brutal.
ain't going. Yeah, it's the SEC's first SEC home SEC game, so we'll
And the
see how
side
it
of
goes.
game day. Oh yeah, no, it's gonna be a
Mm.
pass for me on going out, big dog.
Yeah, if I'm going anywhere, it's going to be north. I'll go to Chicken and Pickle this weekend or something.
Oh, there you
Maybe we
go.
can
It'll
get
be
some
nice and light.
pickleball in.
Yeah.
All right. So to start this episode off, I had a friend of mine, Robert, reach out to me and ask me to do a bit on one of his ancestors.
Shout out,
Um,
Robert.
Shout out to Robert. And so I'm just going to do a little bit of a introduction to this player, and then I'm going to start working on a script or an outline for a full podcast on this guy because he's interesting as fuck. So let me ask you a quick question, Teddy. Who was the first outside linebacker in NFL history?
I'm gonna go with John Alexander.
If you said John Alexander, you would be correct.
What do
All
I
right.
win?
John Alexander was the first outside linebacker in professional football history long before the NFL was created. He pioneered the three-point stance. And let me tell you a little bit about him. He was born in 1896, served in the Army twice. He's got two honorable discharges. He served first during the Pancho Villa raids. He served down on the border. And second, during World War One. After he left the Army, he went to, I believe, Rutgers, maybe? I think Rutgers.
Wisconsin.
Um, and then after college, he was a professional football player for the Wisconsin Badgers. Yes, they used to be a professional team, but uh,
I
in
learned
fact,
something new today.
the game that he was the first person to play outside linebacker in was against the Chicago Cardinals way back in like 1920 or something. He also played for the New York Giants. He, let's see, what else did I want to say about him? Ted,
Wait,
do you think he's in the Hall of Fame?
I do not.
You would be correct. The guy who was the first outside linebacker in history, the last remaining pre NFL professional football player living, and it pioneered the 3-point stance, isn't in the Hall of Fame. Feels like somebody that should, be in there.
Hey, I mean, let's not give the Hall of Fame voters any credit. Antonio Gates wasn't a first ballot Hall of Famer for some unknown reason. Like the Hall of Fame voters don't know what they're doing. It's okay.
I was gonna say they I saw today that they released the names for the people that are on the ballot for the first time coming up. So we'll see how they do. Do you think any of them are going to be first ballot guys?
I'm gonna be honest. I didn't see. Do you have the list of names on you?
I don't have it right in front of me. I know Joe Staley was on there, so I was kind of excited. Joe Staley's my
Well,
guy.
they tend not to like offensive linemen very much, but if anybody's going to make it first time,
But yeah, well, Luke Kuechly's on there. I don't think he's going to be a first ballot guy.
he might. I don't know about the longevity though. That was the big thing for
Yeah,
him.
I said the same thing about Patrick Willis, and they still got him in. So
Yeah,
maybe Kuechly, yeah, because
I
he
think
was just that good.
they're evolving. Like Kuechly is the modern standard for coverage linebackers. Him and like Bobby Wagner revolutionized the position.
Hmm.
with what they were asked to do for the Panthers and Seahawks, respectively. So I
Yeah.
think that if anybody's going to get in on a first shot, it's Kuechly.
All right. Now we're gonna jump into what this show's really about, and that's fantasy football.
Yeah, baby.
Um, and Ted, you had something that you wanted to talk at the top of the show about.
Yeah, so we mentioned that passing touchdowns are down in this last episode, and you know why? Why are passing touchdowns down? There are a lot of reasons.
Because quarterbacks suck.
So part of the reason is that quarterbacks are younger than ever. Like the average age of quarterbacks is the youngest they've ever been because we just lost in just the last 5 years or so. We've lost Big Ben, Eli Manning, Philip Rivers, Tom Brady. Like we've lost a lot of
Yeah,
these
I
guys.
mean,
That had a
you
crap
just
ton
take
of
Tom
experience.
Brady out of it, and you drop like 30 years
I mean, that's
on the
true.
average.
That's true. Last year's was previously the youngest, but these guys don't have all this experience to draw from when playing a defense. They've not seen a lot of these things. They don't have quite that same mental library that a Tom Brady, Big Ben, Eli Manning, Philip Rivers, those guys have after
Yeah,
thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of plays. They've seen everything. These
guys that
kids
get
haven't done that. So there's that. There's also the fact that defenses are more complicated than ever. Like if you go back, even I think Ryan Clark said it even 10 years ago. Defenses didn't look anything like this. Like defenses have figured out the rules of offenses, right? And they've targeted the protection rules. Now people say, "Oh, the offensive line play is the worst it's ever been," which I mean they don't play as well as they used to, but at the same time, part of that is playing offensive line in today's NFL is really freaking hard.
yeah,
Like it used to be, most defensive tackles were run pluggers. They didn't do anything rushing the passer. Not anymore. Now you got
yeah.
Chris Jones, you got Quinnen Williams. Like everyone rushes the freaking passer at defensive
Aaron
tackle.
Donald changed all that.
Aaron Donald. That's the quickest way. I
Monster.
mean, follow the money. Defensive tackles exploded. Their average contract exploded this offseason or the last couple of years. NFL teams are putting an importance on rushing the passer from there. Not to mention, you got lighter and faster edge players like TJ Watt, Micah Parsons. You got these guys that, 20 years ago, Micah Parsons is probably not heavy enough to play edge. You
Oh,
know what I mean?
he's a
'Cause
linebacker.
yeah, he's not a great run stopper because, I mean, he's not bad at it, but, he just,
Hey, he's
he's
a better pass rush guy.
absolutely, he's just not heavy enough. So you got all these different things, and then you also have defenses committed to putting a lid on it, putting a lid on offense and preventing deep plays. They learned that in, Mahomes' first year starting. They started playing him like that, and now they're playing almost everybody like that. The rate of too high, I know that's the boogeyman for everybody. They're not doing terribly against too high, but
I heard Mel Kiper loves that.
yeah, Mel Kiper loves it so much he never wants to see it again because he wants to keep it special. But the rate of too high is higher than it's ever been. I think it's like 49% or something like that of plays. And then you also have more and more teams relying on sim pressures. Look at what Mike McDonald did with the Ravens. That's the amoeba defense, where it used to be, 15, 20 years ago, a lot of times you saw pretty much what the defense was in pre-snap. Now, they don't show you. They'll
Mhm.
adjust to it after the snap. So if you're running something, you're going to turn your back, whatever. They are changing the defense on almost every pass play. And then you also have, again, passing is more efficient than running. And I never thought I'd be this guy, but I'll get to it in a second. Passing has always been more efficient than running, and teams got smarter and smarter and smarter and realized that. And then you have the freakazoid QBs coming in like Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, these guys that can just blow you away deep and pick you apart at the same time. So, you know, defenses again have evolved to stop the pass. They got lighter at linebacker. They've emphasized coverage. There are
Yep.
just not that many thumpers. They want to put an extra DB on the field. It used to be the base defense. We all remember, like, Madden when we were kids. The base defense was 4-3, 3-4, something like that, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's not the case anymore. Base defense
Ah,
is nickel now.
it's nickel.
Yeah, it's nickel now, because otherwise you get shredded.
Yeah.
So it's a
Unless you got
combination
a
of
guy like
all
Fred
these
Warner,
different
then you're
factors.
okay. You don't
Yeah,
need a nickel.
there's a combination of all these different factors that have combined to make passing harder than ever. Defense is better than ever. Defenses are willing to cede the run to you, but teams don't want to take it. Like, so that's, one of the ways that offenses can fight back is run it. And I never thought I'd say that. I never thought I'd say run the ball more.
Yeah,
This is a very new experience for me.
Are we going
Um,
to start seeing the return of some of these great running backs?
so with the emphasis on people keeping, being kept fresh, I don't know if we're ever going to see the return of, 15 running backs getting
No bell cow.
250 carries. I mean, there will
Yeah.
still be bell cows. Look at Josh Jacobs; he had 32 carries last week. Like there will
And
still
James
be
Conner still exists too. So
James Conner still exists. Exactly, there will still be bell cows, but it's a matter of like teams now are averaging more yards per carry than they ever have. They're very good at running. They're not running more, but they're just very, very good at it.
and
So that's one of
choosing
the
when to
ways,
run.
and choosing when to run exactly. So another way that they can do it is force the defense to go into base. I
Okay.
can't remember who it was, but one of the safeties that's now a commentator, I think he was a safety when he played. He mentioned that when you're in base personnel, a defense usually is stuck with like 4 different coverages that they play on every snap of base personnel. So if you look at the Cardinals, for example, I'm going to use them, great example. Last year, that team had a great run game out of 13 personnel. It's 1 running back and 3 tight ends. They didn't have a receiver who could punish the defense, right, and make them pay for going into base and playing that. Well, they drafted Marvin Harrison Jr. 4th overall. So
I'm not
guess
going to
what?
stand for this Michael Wilson eraser.
Hey, Michael Wilson's a good player, but he is not a special player. Like he's
Oh,
good. There's a different level,
how dare
okay?
you? It's because you
And I
hate
like Mike.
Stanford.
I
I get
like
it. I
Michael
get it.
Wilson, but this weekend, all of their explosive plays in the pass game were out of 13 personnel. Both touchdowns to Marvin Harrison Jr. were out of 13 personnel because they knew what coverage they were running. And on Marvin Harrison Jr.'s first touchdown, which I know you say is not a touchdown, but you know the league
Listen, it
disagrees.
doesn't matter what I said. The refs called it a touchdown.
Exactly, league disagrees with you. It's a touchdown in my points, so it's a touchdown in real life.
Or
Anyways,
touchdown.
on that play, you see Trey McBride and Marvin Harrison Jr. on the same side of the field. Trey McBride's lined up, I think, in line if I'm remembering right, but he comes up and he runs a corner route, like 20 yards downfield, I think, 15, 20 yards downfield.
Okay.
And as he's breaking out, there are 2 safeties or 2 DBs. I don't know if one of them was a safety and one's corner, whatever. Harrison's running a post route.
Mm-hmm.
So again, 2 coverage players, 2 offensive players. Kyler's watching that to see which one the safety inside the numbers takes. Well, he's got his hips flipped to McBride, so when McBride makes his cut to the sideline, that corner cuts on that and drives down, and as soon as Kyler sees it, he throws it over the top to Marvin Harrison Jr. The way that works is because you've taken a little bit of speed off the field. You've switched a DB for a linebacker or a defensive lineman. And guess what? Linebackers aren't as good in coverage. So if you have a very good tight end, if you have all these things, then they can punish that. Plus, the play action works better. And excuse me, I just died a little bit. It's fine.
Yeah.
But another thing that it does is allows you to run the ball. If they let you run the ball, make them stop you. They're going to have to bring another guy into the box at some point, and then it'll open up the passing game. Another team doing this a lot is the Saints. Their offense is using 11 personnel on the fewest percentage of plays in football. I think it's like 22% in 11 personnel. They're funneling targets to Rashid Shaheed and Chris Olave, and then just pounding the ball with Kamara, and it's
Are
working.
you? Do you think that you're gonna start seeing more of these hybrid safeties coming out, like we used to have with Jamal Adams?
Maybe long term, but the NFL throughout its history, offense and defense are in an eternal
Mhm.
battle, like good and
Right,
evil.
right, right, right. That's what I'm saying. Like as we move from a more nickel look, do you think you're going to start seeing some of these bigger guys playing safety to try to keep the size on the field for the nickel?
So what I think is going to happen, I think they're eventually going to put another linebacker into the box, and I think we're going to go back to seeing base looks of 4-3-3-4 because offenses will be more committed to running the ball.
Okay,
So then they'll want to
interesting,
stop that, and then they can open it back up with the pass. But it's a long term thing. It's
yeah,
not going to happen tomorrow.
interesting. Well,
Yeah.
thank you for that. That was yeah. You said
Hey,
a
for
lot of words I
fantasy
didn't know,
football,
so I appreciate that. Dallas Cowboys, he is available for hire. Pretty sure you guys need a new defensive coordinator after what you guys just let the Saints do to you.
Mike Zimmer ain't it, bud.
All right, let's get into last night's game, Patriots and
Do it.
Jets. I liked Rodgers' quote. I kind of already alluded to it earlier, but
Yeah.
Rodgers was talking about how each defense that they've played this year, their number one goal is taking away Garrett Wilson. And
Yep.
I was super high on Garrett Wilson going into last year, before Rodgers tore his Achilles, and I was just as excited this year. However, they've been playing a lot of cover two and focusing on Garrett Wilson, which has allowed Alan Lazard to kind of benefit from that.
Yep.
Much to my chagrin, because I don't have Lazard. But
Nor should you.
what?
I said, nor should you. I'm sorry, but Alan Lazard is.
You don't think he's a good waiver wire pickup right now? You could
Not
ride the
really.
hot hand for a week or two if you're struggling.
Who are you playing? Who are you playing Alan Lazard over? That's exactly right. You can't. Yeah, that's the point.
Debo.
Devo, well, yeah, Devo ain't playing. Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Exactly. See? Cooper Cup.
He's good. Yeah,
I'd
Cooper Kupp.
rather play him
Cooper
than Cooper
Nakua.
Cup right now. Yeah. Let's talk about Rodgers' mobility. He looked pretty spry back there.
He did. He looked like he did before he tore his Achilles. He's looking like, this is the benefit of, people lumped him and Kirk Cousins together in their Achilles rehabs. Rodgers tore his like 2 months before Cousins did.
Yeah.
Or a month and a half, 2 months, whatever it is.
He's
matters.
also been a lot more mobile than Kirk too.
This is true, but recovery timeline also matters a lot. That extra month and a half, I think that we're going to see Cousins look more and more like himself over the coming weeks. But
yeah, he definitely looked more like Perk Cousins instead of Jerk Cousins.
Yeah, but Rodgers looked great. Like if I have Garrett Wilson, I'm not selling. But if I don't have Garrett Wilson, I'm probably going to see what people want for him, because this is the buy low time. His target share is 28%. Like the Jets are trying to get him the ball. That's
and
a lot.
He's got great ass.
He does.
He's got great ass.
Yeah.
And he put up a decent stat line against really good cornerbacks too. I know you're really, really high on that guy out of Oregon.
Hey, Christian Gonzalez has done very well this year. He looked good starting last year, but then he had this shoulder injury, and I think
he's a great cornerback.
But he followed the Patriots. They showed their hand. Like, he followed Garrett Wilson on near every snap.
Okay.
And the touchdown, if that hadn't been perfect ball placement by Rodgers on the touchdown, Gonzalez was in position to make a play on that football. But obviously, Rodgers.
Rodgers does Rodgers things.
Absolutely the perfect placement, so it was just out of his fingertips.
I mean, Rodgers is probably the best ball placement guy in the history of the NFL, I think.
Yeah. Also, Braylon Allen. So the further we get from the draft, it just doesn't make sense to me how after the Cowboys whiffed on getting Jonathan Brooks because they're stupid, how did they not draft Braylon Allen? Braylon Allen could start for probably almost every team in the league based on what I saw last night and last week. And instead, he's behind Breece Hall. Like, that's too many running backs. It's too many. Give Braylon Allen to somebody that's going to use him more.
Yeah, and he's taken away my tutties.
That's okay. I mean, he's still Breece is still getting some tutties.
Yeah. Talk to me about Jacoby Brissett.
So, if you guys listen to Matt Harmon, he talks sometimes about the sacrificial X receiver. Jacoby Brissett is a sacrificial quarterback. The Patriots' offensive line gives him absolutely no chance of success.
They put the offensive into offensive line.
Yes, big time. They don't want to play Drake May back there, and they've said it. Like, they've said after the preseason that May outplayed Brissett, but Brissett would start. I mean, they're just like, yeah, it's
we know. We just don't want him to die. So we're going to throw Jacoby Brissett back there, and
yeah,
fuck him, right?
Season. But what I don't understand about the Patriots is why aren't they playing the young guys? Like Javon Baker, they picked him in the 4th round. He had a really interesting profile coming out of UCF. They aren't really playing him. And it's
Yeah, we
like we
talked a
all
little bit
know,
about this last time. Like, play the
yeah,
young guys.
exactly. Like we know what Tyquan Thornton is.
Play the
And
Utes.
this
The Ute.
team needs to figure out if they need receivers and offensive line or
Hmm.
just offensive line. Because if you need just offensive line, then if you get into a situation like, let's say the Chargers did this past draft, where they had to pick between a receiver to address their non-existent receiver room or an excellent tackle prospect at 5 overall, if you
I
only
mean,
need
they did
one,
both.
it's a lot easier.
I think they did pretty good on both. So,
I mean, they did, but I'm just saying, if the Patriots knew what they had, then they would know what they need to attack in free agency and in the draft.
but yeah, I think we're on Drake May watch at this point. I don't know how much longer they're going to throw Jacoby Brissett out there.
I think until he's
Um,
hurt, I really do. I mean,
Probably won't take long.
Drake May got
Honestly,
destroyed multiple times last night. Like,
yeah.
it's
It
not
was a
going to go
nice
well.
spear. Yeah, it was pretty bad. And other than that, I mean, the Jets have a really good defense,
Yep.
and Ramondre and the rest of the offense did nothing. I'm pretty sure Ramondre had less than one fantasy point.
He did. He had point 0.3.
Yeah, that's less than ideal from a
Yeah.
starting running back. So
Analysis
just
right there.
kind of throw this game out into the trash, and play him based on matchup. Don't play him against a strong defense. They're just not gonna.
Yeah.
It's not gonna go well for you. All
If
right,
they're
let's
going
get
to
into
be,
the previews because we're taking too long and I'm
let's go.
rambling. All right, Chargers Steelers. It's gonna be a defensive game.
Yep. Those are the
Um,
top 2 defenses in the NFL right now in points allowed.
yeah,
So,
low scoring. I'm not. Look, if I've got J.K. Dobbins, I'm playing him. If I've got, yeah, I mean that's pretty
yep,
much it.
pretty much. Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, like maybe if you have Pickens, Pickens is doing really well. He's separating better than he did last year.
Yeah, he's got great
Um,
ass.
he does.
Yeah,
Last
he's
year his
what
ass
top
his
two in ass right now.
I can't remember what rating he was, but last year his ass was mid. This year it's very good.
Yeah, he's got
He
great
improved
ass.
his ass over the offseason.
I wish Arthur Smith would let him on the field more.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they're using him in what he does the best, which I think is also helping that ass score, because last year's Steelers team was, Matt Canada led.
God, I'm surprised that man's kept his job for so long.
Yeah, that
All
dude's
right,
not.
I'm rambling again. Texans and Vikings.
All right, Texans
Talk to me.
Vikings in a ding.
In a
So,
ding, still going. Still
yep,
hasn't figured it out.
the Texans receivers, they're going to have an advantage in this one. Obviously, they have an advantage over pretty much any secondary they face. Um, the Vikings defense is performing better than anybody thought. I'm going to be really interested to see what Brian Flores can cook up to confuse CJ Stroud. I think that's going to be one of the best matchups of the week. If you heard after the Niners game last week, Brock Purdy went up to Flores and said scheme was crazy. Brian Flores confuses good QBs. Like,
Yeah,
that's what he does. So, yeah, the Texans receivers have an advantage, but is CJ Stroud going to be able to exploit that? I think he will. I think he's a good QB, but I don't think it's going to be some huge, massive game from him, you know?
yeah.
So,
I think the Texans try to get back to a little bit more balance on offense. I know last week they went away from the run game and they went pass heavy. I
well, it
think they
wasn't
try to get
working.
back to it. Huh?
It wasn't working last week. The run game wasn't working.
Yeah,
That
but you
Bears
got to.
defense is
You
really good.
said at the beginning you have to run the ball to get them into a base defense so
Right.
you can take
But you
advantage.
also, if it's not working, if you can't block them, then you don't slam your head into a brick wall and put yourself in 3rd and long either. Like, if it's clear it's not working, you can go do something else.
And this is why I'm not an NFL coach. All right, I'm rambling again. Jefferson, you think he's going to have a good game if he plays? He's going to play, right?
Yeah, he's going to play.
Okay.
He participated in walkthrough today. The Texans defense is really good. It's really underrated. Be really interested to see how they get him involved. I'm also interested to see what Sam Darnold shows up because people think he's doing like so great, but he's had stretches like this before. That 4-game stretch with the Panthers back in like 2021.
Hmm.
He played pretty well. I mean, it was all schemed up stuff. Like there was nothing really that led you to believe that he was playing great, but they were giving him
Right.
easy answers and he took it.
Right. And I don't think he's seen any ghosts so far this year.
No.
We're still a couple weeks out
But against the
until
Texans
until
defense, he might start seeing ghosts because Daniil Hunter and Will Anderson are really freaking good.
they are, but I don't know. We're not to Halloween yet. We're not even in October, so
No, they're gonna
might be a
dress up like
couple
this.
weeks.
Yeah, they're gonna send
Might
him
be a
some
couple
decent
weeks.
ghosts. That'll be fun.
Eagles Saints should be a fun one to watch. Uh, I'm gonna go with the over on this one. I don't even
Yeah,
know what the over under is. I'm going with the over.
I thought coming into the season, like, I mean, I thought the Eagles were a really good team. I thought the Saints' offensive line was terrible. Yeah, so I'm going to eat crow on that. I'm going to say something I didn't think I'd say here in Week 3. I'm thinking the Saints are going to run away with this, barring some outstanding game from the Eagles' run game and Saquon.
Really?
Yes, the Eagles have struggled defensively to stop the run. They
Okay.
haven't rushed the passer particularly well. If you do not stop the run against the Saints, they will rip you to pieces. Like this offense
Mhm.
is very, very well designed, plays to its players' strengths. Kamara is, I think, like third in success rate running the football. And
Which is
Carr, I don't know
insane
what
at
got
his
into
age,
Carr. Captain checkdown ain't checking it down. That
right?
70-yard touchdown to Shaheed last week is a great example of a QB trusting the scheme and taking a shot. If you go watch that play, he's got a defensive lineman like 2 yards from him about to just unload on him. Derek Carr last year even throws that ball to Kamara and lives
Yeah.
to play another down. He chucked that sucker 70 yards downfield almost, trusting that Shaheed, who by the way was not open when he threw that, he trusted that Shaheed would beat the safeties, which he did, and then put that ball in a perfect spot.
He
So if
he
Derek
did the old fuck it and chuck it.
Yep. And if
Fuck it,
Derek Carr
he's
stopped
down there
that ball
somewhere.
with a good run game and a defense that's still somehow against all odds very, very solid, the Eagles are missing AJ Brown. Maybe if they had AJ Brown in this game, I'd pick different. But there's no AJ Brown in this game, so they'd need a massive game from Saquon to, I
Which
think,
I mean,
win.
it's Saquon, so they could
They
get that.
they absolutely could. Yes.
Yeah. Broncos and Bucks. Um, I mean, I'm not starting anyone on the Broncos.
No, no. There's
I
that
take
song.
that back. I take that back. I am starting Bo Nix in one of my leagues, but that is also a league that I won with Bryce Young as my quarterback last year.
As much as I love Bo, you shouldn't start Bo, but you might not have a choice.
I'm undefeated.
That's
I've been starting Bryce Young and Bo Nix this year, and I'm undefeated. So
you're just handicapping yourself at this point. You're just playing games.
yeah, I'm
Just giving them a chance.
yeah, I'm gonna have to make a trade for a quarterback at some point. So
Yeah, there's that Disney song. We don't talk about Bruno. Well, we don't talk about the Broncos.
yeah. Mm. We're not going to talk about the Broncos, but we are going to talk about the Bucks, and we are going to talk about my guy Baker Mayfield, who is looking awesome ever since I came
Yep.
out and said he can't do it. So shout out to Mayfield. That was all me.
Yep.
I'm the one who got you there. You're
He
welcome.
thrives on haters.
Exactly.
What he
And
does.
Chris Godwin comeback season.
Yeah. Last
It
year,
looks
Chris
amazing.
Godwin had a career low slot rate.
Hmm.
Not to mention he was that was the first year off his ACL injury.
Hmm.
Being outside is harder than being inside. Like
Ding.
lining up outside is
Agreed.
harder. Like winning outside is harder than it is inside. So they're playing him in the slot like 70% of the time, I think. Baker's throwing it. They're scheming routes that Baker will throw. And, just a credit to Godwin himself, he looks more like the player that we saw 2 years ago before his ACL.
Yeah.
So all these things combined, Godwin's been outstanding.
And I think we're definitely on Rashad White losing his job watch to
Mhm.
Bucky Irving. I think Bucky Irving's gonna have more rushing attempts than him this week.
Yep. Bucky is coming for that job because he's just been so much more efficient than Rashad White.
He's just
And
better.
yeah,
We don't know if Bucky Irving's going to be better at being a receiving back. because Rashad White is managing to keep his job right now, I think solely on the fact that he's a
Mhm.
reliable pass catcher. But if you put Bucky Irving in that position and he does okay, then I'm not seeing why you're not giving him the starting job over White at that point.
And you also got to remember that Bucky in college did show chops as a receiver. So this isn't one of those things where it's a 240-pound dude going to take first and second down and goal line work from
Yeah.
Rashad White.
He went to
It's not.
Tennessee.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, the West Tennessee, Oregon, yeah, Western Tennessee. But
Yeah. Yeah,
uh,
that one.
we started to see that, and it might a little bit be because Rashad
I don't
White
know
did
who
have
I'm
a
thinking
groin
of.
injury and he's dinged up. But Bucky played his season high in snaps this
Okay.
past weekend,
Yeah.
so it might already be happening. Stash Bucky.
Stash
He's a good
Bucky.
player.
Got it. Let's go. Let's move on. Packers and Titans. Is Jordan Love playing?
I don't know. If he does, I wouldn't expect a huge game from him. The Titans defense is pretty good, and he is definitely going to be, if he plays, he's going to be limited mobility wise. He's not going to be able to run a lot. They're still probably going to have a pretty run heavy game plan.
Yeah.
Not like last week where they threw the ball like 14 times and ran at 50. Like it's not going to be quite that run heavy.
I
But
mean, you're still starting Josh Jacobs.
absolutely, still start Josh Jacobs. Probably I wouldn't really be dying to start any of these pass catchers
I think if
against this
I'm going to choose one, I'm going to
team.
pick Romeo.
Yeah, if I was going to pick one, him or Reed, because they'll scheme up touches for Reed. I think
But
that
I'm not touching Christian Watson in this game.
no, he's on a career low in snap percentage. I think it's like 53% snap rate.
Hmm.
I think they finally figured out that less is more with him. With
Now
the
we
injury.
saw it in the offseason, and we're seeing it so far 3 games into the season that Will Levis has some performance issues,
Will Levis does have some performance issues. He has that Green Goblin mask following him around. Like, yeah, try this, do it.
and
You got
it's in the form of Giudetti's face.
Yeah. So then he does it, and Brian Callahan is hating it right now. He's like, yeah, that dude just came out and he said, yeah, he cost us points on that one. But Calvin Ridley and Tony Pollard are two players I do want to highlight from Tennessee. Calvin Ridley is playing really well, and with D Hop limited by that knee injury that may well linger,
Hmm.
um, Ridley's leading that team in air yards, and like he's probably a
Ridley is pretty much quarterback proof. He's like
yeah,
Justin Jefferson, you know. It doesn't matter who
he's
you throw back there; he's going to get his.
yes, especially when there's no other receivers worth a damn. And then Tony Pollard,
Don't
they're
hate on Trey
Tennessee's
Burks,
throwing the ball
man.
to receivers at a very high level, and Tony Pollard is playing the majority of the snaps and getting the majority of the targets and touches. So Tony Pollard looks like he's alpha that backfield. Now they
All
still want to
right.
get Tajay Spears involved, but I'm thinking, before the season we thought it'd be a 50-50, 55-45 type split. I
Hmm.
think it's going to be more like a 65-35, 60-40 type deal. And in that
Yeah.
case, Pollard's a no doubt
Pollard
start.
looks a lot better than Spears too right now.
He does.
All right, let's move on to the Giants and Browns. That is a game that is happening.
Hmm.
Um, it's a game. It's a
Yeah,
game, and I'm not starting anybody.
I'm starting Malik Neighbors still, and Devin
Did
Singletary probably.
you know what? You're right. I'm going to start Malik Neighbors because he's going to have like a 70% target
Yep.
share. Uh, and Josh Allen's just not Josh Allen. Wow. Whew.
Danny
Daniel
Dimes.
Jones. Daniel Jones is just he's not going to have any time to throw the ball.
Yep.
Um, he's going to have
It's-
Miles Garrett up in his grill all day, and he's just going to do the chuck it and fuck it. Malik Neighbors is down there somewhere.
Yep. I love first game. They only had Neighbors targeted like 7 times, and Brian Dable said after the game that wasn't enough. And
Yeah.
they asked him, "How do you solve that?" And he said, "Throw the ball to Malik." That was a not so subtle shot at Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones learned his lesson by week 2. Now I do hope, for the sake of Malik Neighbors' health, that they don't target him 20 times a game, because I'm not sure he can survive that. But definitely more
For
than
my
6.
fantasy team,
Yes, I
I
need him to
don't
be.
mind.
I need him to be good at getting good targets, but not 20 targets. That's too many targets because I
And
want him to play the whole year.
when you play a team that has a really good pass rush, what do you end up doing a lot?
You end up running the ball,
You end up running the ball. You end up
especially
doing a
with
lot
bad
of
QB.
screens, right?
Yep.
And who's better at screens than Devin Singletary.
Yeah, he's playing really well. He's making a lot of missed tackles, forced. Like he's actually playing pretty well.
So it's one to watch. I'm not going to play him in this matchup just because I don't believe in the Giants, but it's something I'm going to watch.
I don't believe in the Giants either, but Singletary, I think he's worked himself into probably the low end running back 2 range, especially with
All right.
all the injuries.
Yeah. I mean, you could flex him probably.
Yeah,
I'm not. I'm smarter than that.
and I'm not starting him either, but that's just because I don't have him.
Would you rather start Singletary or Jerome Ford?
Singletary.
Ooh,
Yeah, Jerome Ford
spicy.
played. He ceded a lot of snap percentage to Dante Foreman last week, and it might be something different this week, right? Because in week
Hmm.
1, Jerome Ford looked like the guy back there. I think
Right.
Dante Foreman had 1 carry in week 1 or something like that. Last week, that was almost a 50-50 split.
Yeah, his Foreman's career is crazy to me personally. I saw him at Texas. He was just dominating. I think he
Yes.
had like a 330-yard game one time. It's just he was ridiculous. And then he tore his Achilles.
Yep.
And everyone's like, he's a running back, tore his Achilles. Well, everywhere he's gone, he's played well.
Yes.
And yet he still has to keep moving from place to place.
Exactly.
It's
And he's not ever trusted to run it until the top 2 guys are hurt. Like
yeah.
he's
And then they give him the ball and he does well and they're like, wow, this is really good. Well,
and
these
then
guys are back by.
and then they stop giving him the ball. I don't understand it either. I got nothing on it.
I like him. I like him.
I do too.
So it doesn't matter where he goes.
All right,
I'll
let's
be
move
rooting
on.
for him. I won't be rooting for Deshaun Watson to do anything except get hit by a bus. Um, shouldn't be in the NFL.
Nope.
He's a terrible person. Let's move on. Panthers and Raiders. This is my Zamir White game.
Yeah.
This
Yeah,
is
if you
where
have Zamir White,
next episode I'm going to be like, I told you Zamir White was going to be a top 10 back this year.
if you have Zamir White on your fantasy team and you stuck it out this far without dropping him, this is your game. The Panthers' run defense is terrible. Their offense isn't very good. They're definitely not scoring a lot of points. The Raiders want to run the ball. This is if he can't run the ball this game, you can probably just go ahead and drop him. And if he can run the ball this game, probably a good idea to look what you can get for a trade for him and trade his ass after his best game. Because you don't get to play the Panthers every week as much as people might like that. I know.
Why
Everybody
not?
in the NFL for it. But I do think that the Panthers will show signs of life. The offense is not perfect. It's not going to be great. It's not going to be top 10. It's not going to be top 15. But the offense before, I mean, Deontay Johnson's been unstartable because the offense around him is just
Yeah, but now he's got the red rocket thrown to him. And
exactly an adult in the room. And last time we saw Dalton, he was still throwing catchable passes, accurate
mhm.
passes, and that's what Deontay Johnson, Xavier Legette, Adam Thielen, that's what they need.
Yeah,
Like
I,
the
I
Panthers,
I don't think Andy Dalton's a terrible quarterback.
no, he's
He's definitely
not
not
good.
top 15,
No, I wouldn't even say top 20, but
but he's better than Daniel Jones.
Bryce Young may well have been the worst quarterback, especially the first 2 games of this version of
Oh yeah,
Bryce
I
Young.
don't even consider Bryce Young a
Ooh.
quarterback anymore. He's just a
So
guy they throw back there to hope to get a better
whatever Andy Dalton brings, it's better than that.
ball. All right, Dolphins Seahawks. Achan and Tyreek, you're definitely starting. But why
Yep.
do you say Waddle should sit?
So with Skylar Thompson, both of those guys, Hill and Waddle, take hits to their projected to their total point totals.
Yeah, I'll be
Waddle,
honest. I forgot Skylar Thompson was a thing.
yep. Well, I'm reminding you. So Jalen
Sad.
Waddle, his numbers dip worse than Hill's because they're still going to get touches for Hill. His numbers aren't going to be as good as obviously they were with Tua or are with Tua,
Hmm.
but he's still going to get design stuff, all that. Waddle is more of a downfield, has been more of a downfield threat since Tyreek came. Do we trust
It's
Skylar
wild.
Thompson to throw the deep ball?
I don't
I
trust
don't.
Skylar Thompson to do anything.
Exactly. Neither do the Dolphins in all likelihood. So Jalen Waddle with Skylar Thompson, because remember, Skylar started a couple games in 22, I think,
Uh-huh.
um, when he had those issues. And yeah, I know. And Jalen Waddle was not scoring a lot of points. Like
No.
I have Waddle in one of my leagues.
Nobody was. Nobody was scoring a lot of points.
Hill was okay, but Waddle was essentially unplayable. Like in one of my leagues, to show you like how bad it is, I do have Waddle. I had extra running backs. I targeted Waddle because I thought he was a great value. Well, he's not a great value anymore. So I dealt one of my extra running backs because I have Kamara and I've got who else have I got? Bijan Robinson, and I had Kyron Williams and Tony Pollard. So I have running backs for days. But I needed another receiver after Tua got hurt because Waddle was my number two. So I used with that to trade for DK Metcalf because otherwise I was starting Khalil Shakir over Jalen
Yeah,
Waddle.
that was a dirty trade too. Oh, that was
That
gross.
wasn't a dirty trade.
That was gross. You fleeced him,
That's just
as
not
you
true.
always do. Are you playing any Seahawks other than DK?
JSN. Yep. Still playing JSN.
What about
Charbonnet
Charbonnet?
probably. Yeah, I'm still probably playing Charbonnet.
Gino?
At some point. Gino, he's between that 10 and 20 range for me, probably 10 to 15, because he doesn't bring anything with his legs. It's hard to be a top 10 QB if you're not rushing. And he's not going to rush.
Fair enough. All right, let's move on to the Ravens Cowboys. Ravens offensive line has struggled. Their defense has also been struggling.
Yes. The defense has been allowing a lot more explosive plays through the air. So my concern with the Cowboys offense, though, if they don't have CeeDee Lamb, who's hitting you deep? Who's making the big plays? The running backs aren't making big plays. Rico Dowdle has been losing snap share to Zeke Elliott, whatever's left of him.
Gonna have a Brandon Cooks game.
30, what, 2, I think? Like he's
You're gonna
I
have
don't
a
think
Brandon
so.
Cooks game. He's
He
still
could.
got it enough in the tank that he can turn it on for 1 or 2 games a year.
He gets he'll get some end zone targets, but if CD doesn't play, and I haven't seen the practice reports today, but I think the other day he was a DNP, didn't have practice because of that ankle injury.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's going to get brutal for the Cowboys, and I'm starting none. I'm starting none of them in that case.
Yeah, I'm not even starting Dak in
No,
that case.
nowhere to throw it to.
And Ferguson could be out for another game too. We'll just keep that in mind and keep an eye on the practice reports.
Schoonmaker, you could do worse than Luke Schoonmaker, especially if CD misses.
The Schoon Man.
Yep.
All right. On the Ravens side, of course, you're starting Lamar. You're starting Mark Andrews. You're starting Isaiah Likely.
Likely isn't an automatic start, but I mean, if you're that hard up, you're probably starting Likely because you don't have anybody better. But
Uh,
Andrews is definite.
you're probably starting Henry.
And Zay Flowers, and
Cowboys.
that's it.
Yeah, I was gonna say Cowboys aren't that great against the run. So
Nope.
as
But if
we
they
saw,
can't block, that's been the issue with Henry. He hasn't gotten going because they can't block anybody. He's getting hit behind the line of scrimmage.
yeah. But we just saw what the Saints did to the Cowboys on the ground. So
Yes,
if any team can turn around a running game, it's going to be facing the Cowboys or facing the Panthers.
Panthers big time, yeah.
All
Or
right,
Colts.
yeah, that's true. Whew.
Or
Lions and Cardinals.
oh, it's my favorite game. Favorite game
This
of
is
the
our
week.
game of the week right here.
Yes, this game is going to be a shootout. The Cardinals' defense is terrible, so I'm starting all my Lions. I'm starting Jameson Williams, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Jameer Gibbs, David Montgomery, maybe Jared Goff, just because again it's really hard to be a top 10 QB if you don't run, and Jared don't run.
Jared Garf.
Probably Sam Laporta based on where you drafted him. You don't have anybody better. And then
Accurate.
on the other side, that Detroit defense is very strong against the run, but I'm still starting James Conner just because I do believe that he'll get a lot of work and I'll probably target him in screens. I'm definitely starting Trey McBride. I'm starting Marvin Harrison Jr. I'm starting Kyler Murray. Kyler, I'm excited to see what he does in this third game because that second game was electric. I mean, he played so well. I think that might legitimately be the best game of his career. There was one play, the touchdown to a Higgins,
Oh,
or
where he was running around and made like 5 people miss.
yeah, including one guy he made a miss twice. Number 8, I think it was Jared Verse. He missed twice,
I mean, Jared versus
which
Young. He'll get there.
has to feel bad. Like welcome to the NFL.
Welcome to the NFL. Break your ankle twice.
Yes,
Um, I think this is going to be a good game for David Montgomery. I think that the Lions got a little away from the pass or away from the run last week, and I think they're going to try to control the clock on this one and try to keep Kyler off the field. And I
Mhm.
think this is going to be a David Montgomery game. So I would be excited to start David Montgomery, and I will
I'm excited
probably
to
be starting him in most of my DFS lineups.
I'm excited to start any of the skill position players pretty much in this game.
All right, Chiefs Falcons.
All right,
Um,
Chiefs Falcons. Let's go.
I mean, Mahomes and Rice. You're starting both of those guys. You're starting Kelsey, and is there anybody else on the Chiefs that you want to start?
No, I don't feel comfortable enough with that running back situation. Carson Steele, Samaje P. Ryan.
Yeah,
Maybe after this week, when we get clarity on what Andy Reid thinks of the
or
situation,
Kareem Hunt.
I don't think it's going to be Kareem Hunt, man.
He was
But
at
yeah,
practice.
I know he's on the practice squad, but last time we saw him, he averaged like 3 yards a carry. That's just not. He doesn't catch passes at that point either.
Yeah.
It's not going to be great. Anyways, we need to see what he thinks of the backfield first, how the distribution of carries and targets is going
hmm
to play out. But I don't even know, man. Kelsey, is it a lock? Is it a lineup lock at this point? I mean, you probably
Based on
start.
where you drafted him,
Yep,
yes,
you
it's a
probably
lineup
drafted
lock.
him because you probably didn't draft another one.
Would
Yeah,
you rather start him or Schoonman? Schoonman, whatever.
I'm still starting Kelsey over that.
Okay.
Kelsey did have he had a couple plays, big plays last week that were called back because of penalties and whatnot. So
Yeah,
he added those. Fine.
you're looking at maybe you were able to pick up a guy like Schoonmaker off the waivers, and so he's your backup tight end. But you're still going to play Daddy Kelsey, over him.
Yeah,
Um, I think P Ryan's going to get the work, the bulk of the work, just because he's the veteran in the room. And like you said last episode, Steele had a pretty ugly turnover. So
they did, but upon further review, they did put him right back in the game. So that indicates to me that they do have a level of trust in him. That even though he fumbled,
yeah.
and we still put him out there.
All right.
So we'll see.
What else about this game?
The Falcons. The Falcons have still got a great defense.
It's
I'm
just so weird to say. I don't
I
remember
like
the
the
last time
Falcons.
the Falcons had a good defense.
The Chiefs have a great defense. My bad.
Oh, okay.
So,
I
yeah.
was like, what? What are you even saying?
What's nice though, and I think Drake London's going to have a nice game because they don't really have their best corner is a slot corner.
Yeah.
McDuffie generally plays in the slot. He can play outside, but he's best in the slot. So Drake London takes most of his snaps outside. He'll move into the slot sometimes, but I think majority of snaps he's going to be outside. And I don't know if they're going to have McDuffie follow him.
What about
So
Pitts?
Pitts, dude, I think it might be Jover for Pitts, man. Pitts is having, when he came out, he was like, "Oh, this guy's big, he's fast, he's going to line up outside, he's not going to be a tight
Yeah,
end, he's going to
he's
be a
an
receiver."
athletic freak of nature.
He is, but at the same time, he's still a tight end, and when he lines up outside, corners are covering him. It's
Yeah.
hard for any tight end to get open against corners, Pitts included. So, the Falcons' first read target share, like how often a play is going to them, his has been 7% this season.
Mm, mm,
It's right
mm.
down there with, I think Ray McLeod actually has higher. So, like it's just, he doesn't bring anything as an inline tight end because he's not blocking, he's not good at it.
Yeah.
He's just limited. You know, he's a tweener. Hate to say it, but he's a tweener.
He's a tweener. He's a tight end with terrible ass.
Yeah, negative
Ugh,
probably. But
negative ass
Bijan,
tight end.
Bijan's a smash start.
Uh-huh.
I
Perk
mean,
Cousins? Are you
he's
starting
so
Perk?
good.
You starting Perk
No,
Cousins?
because again, like the Chiefs' defense is real good, and he's not running. His Achilles looked better on that last drive, but he ain't running.
Fair enough. I skipped over the 49ers and Rams, so let's get back to it. The Rams defense is trash, and
Yep.
they have no one to throw the ball to. I'm not starting any of them because the Niners defense is really good,
Yep.
despite what you saw against the Vikings. As long as they, don't do too many Brandon Staley things, I think they'll be all right.
Well,
and look for a big game from Ayuk.
yep. The Rams have like 4 offensive linemen, I think it is, including both starting guards on IR. Nakua's on IR. Cup's not on IR, but that
He's
might be
probably
because they
going
have
to be.
yeah, well, I don't think they'll put him on because they have so many guys on IR right now. You can only put so many and have so many in return. I'm pretty sure they're at the limit of 8. If
It's
I'm
like
not
one of my leagues. I've filled all my IR eligible spots.
yes. That's the Rams right
Now
now.
I've got IR guys on my bench that I can't do anything with.
So that's the Rams in real life at the
Yeah.
moment, and I do think that Ayuk is going to have a really good game because Rams
Ayukin.
secondary is bad. That or the Niners will just run 50 times for 400 yards or something like that. It's always
Yeah.
possible too.
Your Jordan Mason game and
I'm starting no
whoever's
Rams in this game, none. Not
whoever's
Stafford, not
behind.
Kyron. If I have other options other than Kyron, because how are they going to block the 49ers? This is a
They're not.
terrible matchup for them right now, especially with the injuries.
Yeah. If you play defenses, start the Niners defense.
Yes.
Jags and Bills. Bills running game is looking pretty good to start the year, much to the disappointment of Josh Allen fans everywhere.
I still think Josh Allen is just, top 2 or 3 fantasy QB in football because he does bring a lot with his legs. He's going to get a lot of stuff in the red zone.
Hmm.
Not too worried about him. James Cook, though, I think he's jumping into the top 10, man. We'll see the usage here, but that Bills run game is very well designed. And they clearly feature him because the Bills are another one of those teams that teams play with light boxes. They play them, they want them to run. They would
Hmm.
rather the Bills run than Josh Allen drop back to pass. So they
Which is
invite
crazy because he doesn't have anyone to throw to right now.
Yep. Well, they have a lot of good players, but nobody like Diggs is commanding the attention. And that actually brings us to my next point about Dalton Kincaid. That man, I said he was going to be a top, like, did I say tight end one in the hot takes, bold
You did.
predictions?
You did.
Yeah.
You said tight end one.
That ship has sailed. I am folding on that take because uh, for him to do that, the Bills would have had to throw the ball a lot, or he would have had to be the clear number one. They're force feeding him targets. Neither of those things is happening. Now, I'm not saying that Dalton Kincaid isn't going to be good with the barren wasteland of tight ends this year, where if you don't have Bowers or McBride, you're kind of screwed.
Hmm.
Well, you're still starting Dalton Kincaid because he's better than what you can get. But temper your expectations because it ain't happening. Not a
Hey,
top.
you remember last week how I was talking up Keon Coleman?
Uh-huh.
Did you see that replay of Josh Allen completely ignoring him on the sideline?
I
But
did.
he's trying to talk to him.
Yeah. Look, Keon is
I'm down a little bit on Keon Coleman this week.
he's still raw. Like that was always going to be the issue this year for him. So, yeah. The Jags offense,
I
Jags
saw that and I'm
offense
like, oh man,
The Jags offense looks disjointed as hell. First half
they
last
can't
week,
block.
they it's a mixture of a lot of things. The play calling isn't great.
Yeah,
Trevor Lawrence is missing some stuff that he shouldn't.
I've never been a Doug Peterson fan.
Yep, it's exactly right. Plus, we don't know who's calling plays, him or Press Taylor. So in the first half, this past game, their EPA per play, expected points added per play, was very, very good. It was, I think, the top mark in the league in the first half. The second half, it was in the negatives. Like it went from being up here to being, well, I can't get low enough to show you how low they were.
How low
And
can you go?
well, about as low as the Jaguars did in the second half last week. That's about how low you can get. The usage doesn't make sense to me. I know they want to use Gabe Davis,
Hmm.
but Brian Thomas Jr. is showing out. I think that Brian Thomas Jr. looks really good. They need to get him more involved.
They need to get him more involved, and that'll help open things up for
Yep.
guys like Gabe Davis and Christian Kirk and ETN on screens. Um, Speaking of ETN, I mean, I hate to say it, but Bixby kind of looks a little better.
Yeah. Bigsby last year was clearly in the coach's doghouse, but this year he looks more explosive. He looks like the better runner,
Yeah,
which is crazy. I did
it's
not see
it,
that job.
it feels so weird to say because I've
It does.
always been good. I've always been big on ETN. I've loved him as a player, even coming out of college and stuff.
He's a good
Uh,
player.
I've got him in a lot of leagues. He did great for me last year, but
Tell me you have Tank Bigsby. Tank
I don't.
Bigsby.
I
Oh,
don't.
unfortunate.
I don't do a lot of handcuffs. because I want to keep options open on my bench. All right, last game, and I wanna talk about this one because of some bulletin board material. It's going to be the Commanders and Bengals, and I know I said Jaden Daniels is going to be a top 5 quarterback this year. The Bengals cornerback Cam Taylor-Britt
Yeah.
disagrees. He said their offense is simple. They don't make him do a lot, and it's a nice college offense, and they're not worried about him. So I'm looking for Daniels to have a big game this week because I like bulletin board material, and I really want my pick to be correct.
So I will point out that Cam Taylor-Britt, I was also talking a bunch of shit about Xavier Worthy last week, and then backed it up by having that incredible interception.
Yeah,
Uh,
Xavier Worthy didn't really do much last week.
nope. And I mean, I hate to say it, but Cam Taylor-Britt's right, dude. They have the Commanders' offense has targeted receivers on their receiver targets. So this is stripping out tight end targets and running back targets and all that.
Mhm.
Just the receiver targets. 35% of their targets to wide receivers have been at or behind the line of scrimmage. That is
Which
an
is weird
absurd
for
rate.
a Cliff Kingsbury air raid guy.
See, people think that, but he's been doing more condensed formations. His run game's always been good, but his pass game's always been way behind, and it's holding true here too. Brian
That
Robinson
trip
was great,
that trip to Thailand ruined him.
so he wasn't good before. He just didn't do anything to change him. So on the Bengals side, I really love Jamar Chase to have a big game. The Commanders' secondary's bad. I mean, you look at the total number of points scored against them by pretty much everybody, and everybody's toasting them. I mean,
Daniel
Malik
Jones
Neighbors.
had a good game against them.
Well, Malik Neighbors did. Daniel Jones,
As a result, they couldn't guard the only receiving option
yes.
on the team.
Well,
What do you
Wandale
think they're
had
going to
2
do
catches.
with Jamar Chase, who
My
is at
my
this point a better wide receiver than Malik Neighbors?
my concern with this game is that something's not right with Joe Burrow. Like he is not pushing the ball down the field. The Joe
Yeah,
Burrow we
have you seen
remember
his
pushed
hair?
the ball. Yeah, I mean he might have been replaced by Slim Shady for real.
It's
But so
terrible.
far this year, 64.6% of his targets are 0 to 5 air yards. That's a lot. Jacoby
Yeah,
Brissett is the only other player in the NFL, at least before last night. I don't have updated numbers, but given his passing chart, I would say probably still the same. Jacoby Brissett is the only other guy above 60. The NFL average is like 43%. So Burrow isn't throwing the ball down the field. Now he had a nice ball last week to Jermaine Burton, but like you gotta throw it deep every once in a while. And I know, like we talked about before, defenses don't want you to throw it deep. They're doing what they
hmm
can to prevent it.
and they
But
don't have T. Higgins there to kind of open things up a little bit
right.
more.
But if you need 2 elite receivers to make an offense work, like we're saying Cincinnati does, that's not a good offense. So I'm just a little concerned about Burrow. I'm not massively concerned yet, but it's just something to keep an eye on.
You starting Mike Gesicki?
No, he only had like 44% of the snaps last week, so I think it was a flash in the pan type deal and not something that's going to be sustainable going forward.
Okay. You starting Jaden Daniels this week?
Yes, because of the rushing ability.
Bless you. Don't die.
Thank you. Too late.
All right. Well, that is all the time we have for today. We are running up on our time limit, so we're going to cut it short, and we will talk to you again soon.
All right.
All right. Have fun this weekend. Stay safe. Watch some good football. Peace.